Hi, Randy. How are you? Good morning. How are you, Dr. Figueroa?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. On a cold day.
Yes, just wait 24 hours, right?
I know it's still
How'd
never
you
makes me happy.
how'd you fare with the weather?
Oh, we did fine. I live in Edgewood, and honestly, it was not even a particularly bad rain.
Great.
So how about you?
Well, it looked like we had something that was coming our way, actually into our neighborhood, and fortunately it didn't form. So
That's good.
we were
Yeah,
fortunate.
there's some really bad things in I guess it's Adams County. They look
Yeah.
really bad over there. Yeah, good for 'em. So, but I remember, so I lived here 50 years ago when we had the what is still considered the grand poobah of all tornado events, and I remember it. I was a kid, but I distinctly remember what I was doing.
Team. Um, so with that, I'm just going to roll right into welcome to the call. We've got a lot to discuss today. Got a lot of moving parts. Things continue to unfold, and some great updates to share. So with that, I'm truly just going to go ahead and turn it over. Corey's set up for starting us off with the financial report.
All right, great. Thank you, Michelle. I'll share that in just a second. Hopefully everyone can see the financial report on your screen.
We
Happy to
can.
answer
It's a little big, Corey, which is
a
kind of
little.
a catch-22. Sometimes it's too small. So
Yeah.
that's better. Thank you.
Oh, it is better? Okay, great.
Well, yeah.
Um, Again, happy to have any conversations about this. If you have specific questions, this is a higher level view of our budget. The line item that says grow NKAD subgrant recipient really encompasses salary, staff-related expenses. So um, salaries, travel, professional development, supplies, equipment, that kind of thing. Marketing outreach, we'll be sharing with this group soon. Our plans for a broad, comprehensive marketing outreach communication plan that's going to require some financial resources. So we'll be spending those dollars down in the very near future. Um, I wanted to call particular attention to survey assessments and transportation. You'll notice that we've not spent any of those dollars yet. The surveys assessments line item was mainly earmarked for the youth science um, report that happens later. Well, we could do a report annually for our employers. Um, and that cost roughly $1,000 per school. So we are projecting that 25 schools will want to use their data to produce the report. So that's where this $25,000 will be used. So I anticipate that that won't go down quickly. That'll probably all be spent pretty much all at once later this year. And then transportation. I was hoping that Brian Robinson might be on the call, but for those of you, well, Randy, Dr. Poe, you'll want to hear this too. Um, we have, and it was in the statewide reserve application, we specifically requested $15,000 to help schools with transportation expenses do career exploration activities such as employer tours, visits, anything related to work-based learning, anything that we can increase exposure to different jobs for high schoolers. We want to help schools do that. I've had two conversations so far, one with Boone County High School, I should say Boone County School District, not necessarily the high school, and Williamstown Independent Public Schools. They both expressed interest. I explained to them the process, which we tried to make as simple as possible. We haven't gotten clearance to go forward with either of those school districts yet. I'm still hopeful, but I want to support as many school districts as we possibly can with this $15,000. So for those of you who can kind of help do outreach with that, I would appreciate it, because these funds aren't going to expire or anything on June 30th, but we want to help schools, and we have funds to do that. So let's try to get the word out as much as possible.
And Corey, I can just add to you that I did send your note to Brian Robinson earlier this week, and he sent it to all the superintendents. I do know he got a couple of principals who reached out to him. But you know, I think at this point in the school year, it's probably more likely that we're going to be able to use it next school year. Unfortunately, you just know how things are after spring break. It's hard to get field trips scheduled, but you never know. So I do know some principals have reached out to him.
Great. That's great news. Thanks, Vicki.
You're coming up on the state assessment season. You know, there's not going to be a lot of wiggle room for schools really to schedule things that weren't already scheduled at this point. So I suspect that's probably going to be the case. It's probably going to be early in the next school year. It's going to be the best opportunity at this point, unless they had already had something in the works.
Exactly. Yeah. But maybe it's helpful for them to know the money's available as they're looking at next year's calendar to go ahead and, you know, kind of hit us up now.
Yeah, you won't have a problem spending the $15,000, you know, working with Tank or somebody else to make that happen. There's plenty of opportunities. They'll use it up.
Sounds great. With that, that's my financial report. Happy to answer any questions.
Corey, couple of quick questions. So obviously we follow the fiscal year, which would be in line with the area development district, right? So we're doing a July 1st, right?
That's a great question, Michelle. So this is set up, our typical fiscal year is July 1 to June 30. And that's what is reflected in the yellow box top left corner. These grant dollars, however, are sort of split between 3 different fiscal years because of the timing when we received the grant. So if you look at the percent expended versus the percent of the fiscal year that's gone by, I wouldn't be concerned about that, because these funds really span 3 fiscal years.
Awesome. And when you say that, we're only 67% into year 1, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Good news.
Yeah.
All right.
And then obviously this also doesn't reflect the funds that we are going to be looking forward to from our fiscal court friends, correct?
Correct.
So
I could just give a quick update about the youth science. So we have already booked an event for the fall that will bring together the career counselors, principals, etc. That will be a gateway. It's already been booked for October 1st, I think is the date. And we're going to be bringing the youth science people to town to actually go over our collective report. It looks like that will be closer to $20,000 as opposed to the 25, but then that gives us the opportunity to use that money for this convening event. And also, you know, we probably would end up with a little bit of money that might be left over as well. But that event's already on the books for that. So thank you to Gateway for sponsoring that. I think it'll be a great event for us.
when is that scheduled, Vicki?
It's the first Tuesday in October.
Not
think it's
necessary, just wanted to.
Yeah.
Great.
Can you send us a calendar invite for that, Vicki, so that we
I
have
sure
it on
can.
it? Thank you.
Sure will. Thank you.
And then maybe, you know, we're a little premature, but having some discussions about what does that event look like? Who do we want at the table? You know, how are we going to leverage that on behalf of NKY Works to expand our reach and engagement?
And we for sure want as many employers as possible there. So I would love to have that conversation with this group as to how we really get companies there, both those that have used the results. St. Elizabeth is an example of a company that has used the results. But those that, you know, would be interested in using it. And it is definitely October 1st. So, but I'll get the calendar invitation out.
Awesome. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, Corey. Any other comments or questions about financial before we move on? All right. Well, we are allowing a good 25 minutes for these next groups of conversations. You know, I have been kept informed with Vicki and Corey, and I've even seen some things come out through communications around things happening at that Boone County Fiscal Court level. So with that, I will let Corey update us on the latest and greatest.
Well, good news in terms of the memorandum of agreement for NKY Works. And I feel like I should say, because I say this, I've been saying this at pretty much every meeting that I've had over the last few weeks. Technically, it's still Grow NKY. The unveiling or launching of NKY Works with the name and logo is going to be taking place later this month, April 25th. Thank you to CVG Airport, Gina Stowe, for allowing us to use your space for that event. But we're all in the inner circle, so we know it's happening, but it's still not necessarily public yet. But with the memorandum of agreement, that is kind of making its way from partner to partner. It's my understanding that Kenton County Fiscal Court signed the memorandum of agreement to go into partnership with the other two Northern Kentucky counties in the Area Development District in regard to the work of NKY Works. So Kenton County Fiscal Court signed it last Tuesday. The Area Development District signed it last Thursday, or voted to sign it, I should say. Maybe it's not been inked yet. Campbell County, I just got an email from Kim Sarah this morning. I believe they had their fiscal court meeting yesterday evening. So they're going to be signing it as well. And I've been in conversation with Boone County, and they're still working through that process. The initial meeting, it didn't get voted on favorably. It was a 2-2 tie. So the Boone County Fiscal Court could not go forward with signing it, but it's my understanding conversations are still happening, probably on more of an individual basis, to better inform the commissioners about what this memorandum really means, and really maybe emphasizing the point of increased efficiency and customer service for our employer partners. I mean, that's the bottom line. The premise of all of this work is to improve and make more cohesive and better connected our network of services for our employer partners. And as long as that message is kind of driven home, I feel like you know, the necessary parties at Boone County will probably wind up wanting to sign this if they have a more clear understanding. But so there's still hope in having all four partners, being the Area Development District, Boone, Campbell, and Kenton County, sign the memorandum of agreement that essentially will make our partnership more formalized. Now, as I said in the email that got sent out a couple weeks ago, you know, worst case scenario, we don't get all four parties to sign. It doesn't cause everything to come to a screeching halt. The work will still continue. So I just wanted to reiterate that as well.
Corey, any
can I
sense on
chime
when?
in?
I'm sorry, Rhonda, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry I had to join late. One thing I did want to just mention, and I don't know if you already said this. If you did, Corey, I came in late while you were speaking on this matter. But I know Judge Moore is hoping that the other two counties potentially passing, which we know Kenton did. And I don't know, has Campbell put this forth yet?
Sarah
Yeah.
advised that they met yesterday and that it will go forward.
Yeah, it did.
That's
This is
really-
Kim.
hi.
Hi. So yeah, the
Oh,
fiscal
hi,
court voted
Kim.
on it yesterday morning and unanimous approval. So I forwarded that to Corey and to Tara this morning. So yeah, Campbell's
that
done.
is good news. That is good news. Well, that certainly helps with respect to Boone County. And just so you know, I'm trying to get a hold of Commissioner Flagg to talk to her because I think part of her sentiments are that she feels businesses should only be the ones involved in this, and we need to really explain why government needs to be at the table. So just know that I'm trying to get a hold of her if I can this week or next, just to try to get 30 minutes on her calendar. You know, I'd like to meet with her in person if possible and just explain all the benefits of this, right? Of all of us working together. So, and Judge Moore's aware of that. He knows I'm trying to get a hold of Kathy. So, anyhow, we'll see, right?
Shell, can I ask a question, please? This is Karen Finan.
Hey, Karen.
Is BNKY involved in the funding of this or the partnership with this?
If I understand things correctly, they are, I don't want to use the word fiscal agent, but really they're holding the funds to
Okay,
be distributed, again, specifically for this work.
got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that's the important point I think that the commissioners need to understand in Boone County, that Judge Moore's not asking for additional money from the fiscal court. This is all about the money they have already invested in BNKY for workforce.
Yeah.
Which in turn will come here, right, to assist with GROW. So it's not new money that's being requested right now. And I think that's maybe part of the confusion a little bit too.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I think unfortunately we didn't have the representation at that meeting because I don't know that we were expecting that to be reviewed. So, we didn't have that opportunity maybe to kind of clarify some of those areas. Any sense of when that group will reconvene, and that this might be, obviously we're kind of on an education campaign right now, but when they might reconvene for, again, a review of that?
Judge has been out with having had surgery recently, so they met. We had a meeting Tuesday, but he wasn't participating in that. Our next meeting is the 23rd. I don't know at this point if it's on the agenda yet. We can keep you informed.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Any other questions around where we stand on the MOA? Excellent. All right. Well, moving forward, Vicki, we've got some movement on our April 25th event, where in turn, again, we are going to move from GROW to NKY Works, and had a lot of things in the activity.
Yeah, so we are having an event, a morning event, 8 to 9:30 at CVG. As of this morning, 50 people have signed up. So I do expect that we'll end up with 75 or 80, maybe as many as 100 at the event. But 75 is sort of the number we've been targeting all along. So, if you haven't and you need me to resend the link, just let me know. I'll be happy to do that. So the agenda for that will be that, we will be unveiling the new logo and the graphic. So you remember last time we looked at that GROW graphic that we all really like, that sort of in one visual can sort of put all our priorities on one sheet. We definitely are working with a graphic artist, the same one that did the BNKY rebranding, to get that visual updated. As of this time, what she's given us is a logo. I'm not showing it to you guys because it's a surprise. So you'll have to come on April 25th. to see it. Although there is a small subcommittee that's been working at us, and they've seen it. They're fairly lukewarm about it, to be honest. It doesn't. It very clearly says NKY work, so it's a clearly a work related initiative, which I think it's clean and clear. It's not going to set your world on fire. But I don't know that I think that's a bit of an unrealistic expectation for a logo myself. I think it very clearly says it's a work initiative. So anyway, we will have a new logo. The logo will be part of this new graphic. She's the graphic artist is one of the many people on spring break this week. So I don't have anything really to show with the committee on that at this point. But we will have those things. The judges, 2 of the 3 have it on their calendar. Judge Moore, because of his surgery, is not sure what his status is going to be anyway, but Judge Pendery will speak on behalf of the judges. Judge Knockelman will be there. Then we really are going to move into an opportunity for the pillars to give us an example of something great that has happened as a result of the work of Grow up to this point. So all of them are, and this is not a PowerPoint kind of a thing. It's hey, this is a person who's been affected by the work that we've done, or this is an organization that has been affected by the work. So more like a living proof statement that will be part of that, and they'll share that. We definitely want to recognize people who've been the heroes of Grow. And many of them are on this call, so I shall not name any names, but there have been some people and organizations, our early sponsors where the money came from. We want to make sure that everybody knows that that there have been a lot of investments in this work to this point. So we'll recognize those heroes. Some of the pillars are going to stick around for a little bit and meet, use it as an opportunity to be in person. There's a couple of pillars that haven't been in person for a very, very long time. And sort of reset. We know that some priorities will be changing for some of the pillars, which is great. This is a perfect time to do that. We may be revisiting some metrics. I've talked on a number of occasions that Pillar 3 has already met theirs. So we definitely need to revisit that. But Pillar 2 has really been more focused on measuring actions as a result, as opposed to the end result of their actions. So we want to become more outcomes oriented in the definition of some of our metrics. So we definitely will continue to massage that as we move forward. And then very shortly thereafter, we do expect that we will have a website ready. The same person who was working with the WIBS website will be doing this website for us. He did keep it under the dollar amount that's necessary for us to bid it out. He's a guy who's worked very closely with Corey and the workforce team, so already knows the work that we're involved in. So we got a proposal from him yesterday. So that looks like it will all be moving forward. So we're calling this April 25th event an internal event. So it's meant for all the people who've been involved with Grow to this point. It is not meant to be the one that we're going to bring one to. That event will be in the fall, and we're looking at a big event. We have grand plans for that. We've talked to Tara about potentially inviting the governor and some people from his cabinet. Certainly the local, our local caucus members, we would want to involve in that event. So we're looking at that as being a much bigger event. Hopefully in September, we're just sort of holding on dates for that in terms of understanding who might be available to come to that from the cabinet or from the local caucus. But we do look like we'll have a big fall event, and that would be one where we would really want to have all our ducks in a row and be inviting new people to participate with us.
Awesome. Great update. So Vicky, I will ask if you would go ahead and resend the invitation just to the group. Because to be honest, I feel like I registered, but I'm not sure. So it would be great. And I'm sure there's a few other folks on the call that are feeling the same way. And back to your point, April 25th is that internal launch of the rebranding. At that time, are we going to be doing any public announcements in regards to press releases and things along those lines? And then again, that big celebration happening in the fall, is that the intent?
Yes, thank you so much for that. Yes, we definitely will have a press release ready that day, so it will go out immediately after the event. Hopefully we may be able to invite some of our media partners to be at April 25th so that they can maybe, take some photos with us and those kinds of things. But yes, we definitely would officially, Corey and I talked about it this week. There's really no reason we have to wait till July 1 once we've announced the name change. Voila, the name has changed, right? So there's no magic about July 1st, and it makes more sense to announce the change and then start using the change.
Awesome. And then in regards to the logo, we'll have that ready to roll by the 25th. And obviously you have been working with those pillars again to kind of realign and bring to 3 or 4 points some of those key things. That's what you were referencing earlier.
That's right. That's that.
Okay.
And 4 of the 5 pillars have kind of given us some the 3 bullet points they want. 1 is still working through it, but they know that they're on a deadline, and we've got that figured out. So we definitely will have a tighter definition, take out some of the tax credits and grants, because we're all working on tax credits and grants and money, and really talk about what is the work of the pillar. So that we can really attract, who we're looking for are our business partners to engage with all the pillars. The service providers have largely and been involved since the beginning and will continue to be involved. It's really the companies that we want to get involved in the work, employers. So.
Vicki and Michelle, if I can just add, I think what's really important with this is you show the logo has changed. What else has changed? And as you think about your messaging, I think that's going to be really important as you push that out to the community and the business community. Because, when people hear that this name has changed, hopefully there's different and new expectations. And so I just encourage you to really give that some thought, because you're going to get one shot at this. You're coming out with a new logo that's different, a name change. I would just really give some thought to what else, because I think that will be the attraction to the corporate community in particular.
Right. It's like that evolution. It's the next step in this amazing, collaboration that has reached the pinnacle of what it is, and we are ready to take it to the next level, right? And that's funding, that's programs, that's official MOAs. So those are some of the things that come to mind. But I hear you, Karen, and if there's any other particular areas that we want to make sure we're shouting out when we are communicating this exciting update with our group, please, fire those over to Vicki, and we'll make sure that they're kind of layered into that messaging.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's good feedback. Thank you, Karen. So I'm happy to answer any questions or entertain other suggestions about what we could do on April 25th or the fall event, which is, still a work in progress.
Always open to good ideas on how to get the message out to the business community, to the right people in the business community, because again, we do find that oftentimes the same people are looking at that information, right? We're really trying to tap into an expanded group, whether that is, the human resources or the senior leadership, or, whatever that audience needs to be, really thinking through how do we get the message to them. Because again, if we do it in the same places we've always done it, we're hitting the same people that have always seen it.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Moving right along. looks like we are going to cover the status of immigration in Northern Kentucky. Wilson, yep.
Yes, thank you. That's a big title, by the way, for my responsibilities. I will try to do it as good a job as the title entails. But I will mostly just share updates of our quarterly community consultation that happened last Monday. Let me try to share my screen here. Ooh. Can I share my screen? Whoever has the,
Please.
I just need access to it.
You should be able to now, Wilson. Sorry about that.
All right, thank you. No problem. Let's see. Okay. Are you guys seeing this? There you go.
Yes.
All right. Perfect. All right. First, I just want to say thank you to the folks on the call. Grow NKY has been our number one supporter, or one of our number one supporters since we first started in 2021. I remember when Lisa was at the chamber and just supporting us as we started with a small staff. So thank you again for the continuous support that you guys have provided to us. So I'll, it says 15 minutes here. I plan for 5 to 7 minutes, and then maybe we can have a conversation of our numbers and, immigration in Northern Kentucky overall. For those that don't know me yet, I am the director here for the Northern Kentucky office of the Kentucky Refugee Ministries, and I started in 2.5 years ago when our office first opened. I just want to share a little bit of our history as an organization. So we opened in Louisville in 1990. And since then, we have provided resettlement services to over 19,000 clients from more than 60 different nationalities and ethnic backgrounds. In 1999, KRM opened in Lexington, and then in 2021, like I said before, we opened our Northern Kentucky office here, and it provided services since then. And by the services, I mean, we have a whole list of wraparound services that we provide to our clients, starting from pre-arrival. That means securing affordable, sanitary, and safe housing, furnishing these homes with essential household items and groceries. Recruiting volunteers to help us out. Many on this call were volunteers that helped us out when we only had a staff of 3. So thanks again for all your support. Once clients arrive, of course, we provide a continuous amount of services, which includes assisting clients to obtain social security numbers, state ID, open bank accounts, helping clients get in SNAP, KTAB, and Medicaid services, doing school enrollment, school support. We have medical caseworker now that provides medical case management. We also provide self-sufficiency and integration services. This includes cultural orientation, community orientation, like how to take a tank or the bus to move around the community. We have an EOT team or a ESL team that provides English classes to all of our clients so they can prepare for the workforce. And of course, we have an employment team that provides employment services that connects with local employers that are willing and able to work with our clients. So that's pretty much all of our services. Now we can get into our numbers, but I first just want to share our department leaders here. We have a big team now. We have a team of 18 staff members. If you want to connect with us and how to support our work, these are the contact information for our department leaders. As leaders, they are also able to do community liaison and do community outreach. So if you have any questions about our services and how to get involved, please reach out to them. And I will share these slides after the call for everyone here. All right, so just jump into our numbers. So when we first started in 2021, we started with 100 clients that were approved to arrive to the area. However, we only served 89 clients in that first year, fiscal year 2022. In fiscal year 2023, we were approved to 120 clients, and we ended up serving 110 clients. For this fiscal year, which started in October, we are scheduled to serve 180 or 198, just to provide 110% of our approved capacity. Right now, we are 120, so we are way ahead of pace when it comes to completing our goals for this fiscal year. And for next year, we're going to keep it at 180. I think that's a right number for our region, but also for our staff. We just don't want to, you know, overburden our staff to support our clients, but also we just need to continue to collaborate with all of you to make sure that these clients that are coming in are well supported with community resources. All right, now, since we started in 2021, we have settled 508 clients overall. As you can see here in my numbers, let me see, there you go. It's very diverse by population, ethnicity, but also by language. The folks coming from the Congo, so this is the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. We have 93 clients, and these folks mostly speak Swahili and Kinyarwanda. And then we have a big population of Haitian clients coming into the area now. As you all been keeping up with the news, you know, the situation in Haiti keeps worsening. So we might see these numbers to continue to increase in our region. And then as you can see for the rest of the populations here, it's very, like I said, very diverse by ethnicity, but also by language. We have a good amount of numbers of folks that are from Spanish-speaking countries like Central America, Venezuela, and so on, and Colombia as well. But this is pretty much our total numbers for since we opened our doors in 2021. Now I will just share our numbers for this fiscal year. And one thing to consider here is just to look first at the right pie chart. So last year overall, we settled 181 clients. And then so far this year on the left right here, we have settled 232 clients, and that's for half of the year. So, you know, population when it comes to immigration in Northern Kentucky is growing exponentially. This is mostly due to, you know, the goals that President Biden has for the refugee program overall as a nation. So that's been impacted. We've seen the impact here in Northern Kentucky as well. Again, just to do a breakdown of the population, it continues to be very diverse. But as you can see, Haitian clients are, you know, are skewing our pie chart a little bit, which we are happy to, you know, to receive. This population are, you know, coming in, they're work ready and are able to, you know, to provide, you know, a good impact economically and socially to the region. Okay, next. So it's also good to look at the breakdown by case size. And also by age. So here on the left, we have a lot of single cases that are coming into the area. And again, this is skewed by the Haitian clients. So, you know, we got single migrants coming into the area that are here just, you know, to work, but also to, you know, have a better living situation. So, you know, a lot of single clients specifically from Haiti are coming into our region. But then we also have, you know, an average case of 4 to 5. So these are families that are coming from all over the country to the area. As you can see here, we have 9 cases of 4, for example, 10 cases of 3. So these are families coming to the region. On the right, what we see is just by age population, a breakdown by age. So 65%, 68% of our clients coming in are work ready, prime work ready age, ages from 25 to 64. Then we have some youth clients that are coming in also. Again, these are folks that are coming in that could provide a great impact for the workforce, but also to the future of our region when it comes to work. And then we have, you know, school age population is 14%. And then, you know, early childhood folks coming in as well. And then I would just provide an update on the Haitian population coming in, or just an introduction for folks that are not aware of this community. The main language that they speak is Haitian Creole. And for folks that have had a formal education back at home, they also speak French. And since since Haiti is, you know, it shares an island with the Dominican Republic, my home country, some folks also speak Spanish. So they are very diverse when it comes to language capacity. So, you know, that's also a plus for the workforce. You know, if you have folks that speak multiple languages, they're able to support different employees once to start working in those specific jobs. When it comes to immigration status, our Haitian population that we're seeing are coming to the humanitarian parole program. the Biden administration started back in October of last year. So these folks are being sponsored by families or friends, and then traveling to the area, and they're provided right away with work authorization document to start working, a social security number, and so on. But then we are also seeing clients coming in through the border and being paroled into the country, and then also seeking asylum. These folks are in our area applying for asylum, and after 5 months of submitting that asylum application, they're able to receive their work authorization document. That means they will be started working and able to, to make a life of themselves for themselves in the area. One of the misconceptions that our clients, our Haitian clients are seeing or are understanding, not understanding, one of the misconceptions that they have about the area or is about services. So these clients are eligible for services from our organization, but also through the cabinet. That means that they receive, that they're eligible to receive SNAP, food assistance, Medicaid as well. So these are essential needs that the clients are eligible for, as they are, trying to make a life for themselves here in the area. All right. One of the things that we shared also during our QCC is just some of the challenges that we have seen in the last 2.5 years that we've been providing services to clients. And one of those challenges is housing. Our housing coordinator shared just these numbers last Monday, just the differences on prices and how the rental prices have increased in the last year. So for 1 bedroom, we are seeing a $119 increase since last year. And this is significant for clients that are coming in. They have specific small amount of funding that they're receiving once they come in. That funding goes quickly after the first month. If you think about providing a security deposit, a first month rent, their funding goes quickly out the door to pay rent, and then the organization helps out. And then our task is to get these folks employed right away, so they can be able to pay for rent, pay for their utilities, and be self-sufficient. Because the region is it's very large, compared to other urban areas. So we mostly house our clients in Covington and Newport, Bellevue, so they can have access to transportation. But the housing stock for three-bedroom apartments or home rentals is very small. So we are seeing that these apartments are in high demands, therefore they're increasing highly in price. So as you can see here, that price has increased by $160. So that has also impacted our ability to support large family cases. So that's why you saw that our case sizes averages between 4 and 5. That means a big 2-bedroom apartment can house a family of 2, a family of 4. And just for perspective, last year we supported 25 homes overall for the whole year. This year, half of the year, so far we have supported 27 homes. So our organization has a big task at the hand to support these families, and housing has been a big challenge. I know, the region understands that, but it's good to put in perspective that even our immigrant community coming into the country are facing significant challenges with housing, since they are newly arrived, but also don't have the financial means to be able to keep up with their rents. And then lastly here, I'll share our employment numbers. So historically, for 2.5 years, we have been really good at employment thanks to all of your support. On average, we have made sure that we have placed clients into employment within 60 to 70 days, which is a good benchmark for us. And the average salary has been between 19 to 18. This fiscal year, because we have received many clients in this first half of the year, our employment services team, which is a team of 2, has been working nonstop, but still it is a big challenge for our staff to make sure that these clients get employed right away. So right now our numbers are very low, as 19% of folks that we have employed for those folks that are work ready. So we have been reaching out to many employers. I think Gina's here in the call, so I wanted to give a shout out to CBG and Gina. They stepped up at the beginning of the year in October and November to make sure that they put a plan in place to hire many of our refugee clients. And right now they have employ 14 to 15 clients. Actually, one client started yesterday as well. So shout out to them. But that's an example of employers that that we want to reach out to make sure that our clients get hired and get employed quickly. Just so, you know, to give them that self-sufficiency and self-agency that they are looking for in their lives. And yes, and then last thing that I have here is our World Refugee Day event that we have on June 15. This is just a celebration of the immigrant and refugee population coming into the area. It will be at Global Park and coming to here on this day. It will start at 11 o'clock. Saturday will start at 9. The event will start at 11 o'clock in the morning, and this would just be, you know, events, but also community organizations that can provide resources will be presenting or tabling here, and it will just be, you know, a day full of fun, food, and festivities. So I'll stop there. I'm sure you guys will probably have questions about our numbers and about our population that we're seeing. So I'll open that up for questions.
Well, that was awesome. Go ahead, Gina.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you. Kentucky Refugee Ministries has been such a great resource to our HR team at the airport in our efforts to onboard and train new populations. I am happy to talk with anyone if you know, one of the key things that for us as a team and onboarding, I think we're up to like 12 or 13, maybe more, into our workforce, and that integration is that you can't wait until it's perfect to move forward. You have to understand you're going to make some mistakes and learn from them. And so what I've been encouraging our team to do is to document all of that, you know, that you can anticipate as much as you can and work and prepare. And the case managers from Kentucky Refugee Ministries have been such a great resource in preparing us and continuing to be a valued consultation for us. I think that just across the board, they probably learned more about airports than they ever wanted to know. But I would encourage every employer on the call to consider that partnership and, you know, willing to help however we can.
Thanks, Gina.
You're
A
welcome.
couple of things I noticed, Wilson, that I made notes of, that 85% of the people that are coming are in that working age. And Vicky and some other folks saw this. We had a presentation at the Chamber's HR 100 or the symposium, talent symposium, and that presentation, speaking on a national scale, identified the immigrant population as critical to our workforce because our population growth is not keeping pace with the job demands. And their recommendations on how we counter that was heavily influenced by finding a way to engage and employ that immigrant population. So, you know, we're seeing all these stories line up and kind of, you know, coming together and speaking exactly you know, to what you've presented today. The other thing that I wanted to note was when you see that decrease in finding people jobs, I'm in the staffing industry, it's soft. You know, the hiring side of things is a little softer than it had been. Not unusual for, you know, election years and then with the state of the economy, and there's a lot of influencers in there, but again, your data is really reflective of exactly what we're seeing in the markets. So really good stuff. Anybody else have questions? I think Wilson said he would be sharing this deck with us. So, I think a lot of people have expressed interest. It's really great data in there.
Thank you.
Michelle, if I could just ask a quick clarifying question. Wilson, on your pie charts, when you show the different nationalities that have come in, those are just the work-ready adults, correct? That doesn't take into consideration the whole universe that comes with them, the families, the...
Yes, so this one, for example, for our numbers overall, these are overall numbers, so it includes families and kids. So
Oh, it does.
This
Okay.
one right here, the breakdown by age, this is the one that shows the work ready folks.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I just want to point out too, like, with interpreters is how we conducted interviews for these populations. And there were a lot of very educated people, and there were a lot of people with work experience and skilled trades, and really relevant to a lot of the jobs and the opportunities and workforce needs that we have. You know, it might take time for English beginners and local language learners to get to the level that they're going to be able to get promoted, right? But they come with a lot of expertise and experience, and that's what we learned in our first cohort of new employees. I also want to mention at our recent CVG job fair that we did, there were a lot of the clients that are currently being served by Kentucky Refugee Ministries that came through: electricians, electrical engineers, lawyers. There, I mean, it's just a matter of time before these certifications and the language is going to get up to the level that it needs to do. Like it is a great population to bring into Northern Kentucky into our workforce.
I agree. I think, you know, our clients come with a lot of skills and you know, and great traits to provide an impact to the workforce. And, you know, we only been servicing clients for 2.5 years. So as we set up the infrastructure as a region to support these clients, the more impact they're going to have in the region overall. I think also that, you know, our number one goal is to make sure our clients stay in the area. We are seeing that some clients, you know, get desperate, you know, especially our Arabic speaking clients get a little desperate waiting to get employed. So they reach out to different friends across the nation, and they decide to move out of the region because of that employment is not there. So, you know, as we try to set up our infrastructure, it'll be important for us as an organization, but also as a region, to make sure that our clients are coming in and stay in the area to provide that impact to the region, because I do want to see, you know, our organization providing services for clients coming in 5 years, but they're actually our current clients now that are supporting those folks also that are coming in. So that's our goal. That's our task as a region, and I'm willing. All of our staff is willing to collaborate with all of you to support them.
Hey, Wilson, if I could ask a question,
Mhm.
you know, given that you're locating the majority of these individuals in Covington and Newport and Bellevue, as you said, how much of a problem is transportation, given that a lot of our job opportunities are south of the 275 loop?
Yeah, I didn't share it here, but transportation is the second biggest barrier for our clients. You know, they just have to rely on the bus. You know, our volunteers spend a lot of time helping clients understand how to use Tank, how to use the app, how to schedule their bus routes. So, you know, for clients, for example, that go to CVG, you know, it takes about 50 minutes to an hour to get to CVG at a good time. If it's not a convenient time, it might take like an hour and a half to get to CVG. So transportation is a barrier. We're seeing clients that now they will be completing a year here in the US and are working. They're moving on and buying a car, and that helps our clients as well that are coming in, so they can provide carpool and so on. But transportation is a huge barrier. You know, our goal is to move to resettling clients in the Florence area and Boone County, but the bus routes in that area are very limited. So we got to be very careful where we place clients, so they will feel isolated in those areas. And the last thing I will say, so these are our clients that we see coming in. These are clients with with status, with immigration status, that are able to receive services from our organization. There are way more immigrants coming into the country, into the region, that do not qualify for our services. So Fiesta, for example, in Florence with Teresa Cruz, and then here Esperanza, they provide services to undocumented folks that are in the region that can also have a valuable impact in the region, in years to come. So it'll be nice to, to get to see those numbers as well, to see how we can support those folks as well.
Thanks again, Wilson. Powerful presentation. I think these are the types of things that this group should be seeing on a regular basis. So thank you for putting that together and sharing with us today. While I knew a lot of this, there was still a lot of important data that was quite eye-opening. So great presentation. Thanks again. And Corey and Vicky, let's keep identifying these partners and educating our groups, because things that were presented today reached across multiple pillars, right? So good information for all of us. All right, moving along, let's move into those pillar updates. Pillar 1, you want to do your report out?
Sure, I would love to do my report out. Good morning.
Thanks, Sandy.
So since we last met in March, Pillar 1 attended the Talent Symposium to talk about engaging businesses in childcare as an infrastructure. And so that was exciting. We met, we had 2 different group times, and we met with about 15 to 20 businesses that were interested in understanding how to decrease childcare as a barrier. And we got some really good leads from that. We actually had a conversation with Travis. I'm not going to remember his last name, but from a women's fund. And we're looking at how we can partner with him to be a referral once he gets businesses that are looking at that with their toolkit. So really excited to move forward with that. We also participated in Leadership Northern Kentucky, where we had a panel with representing early childhood. We had Cindy Heron from CVG that talked about the ECAP opportunity. We had Easter Seals Redwood, Katrina Proud, talk about the barriers of operating a childcare, and we had a parent, Fatima, join us. And I would say her vulnerable story was the most impactful for me anyway. She talked about, she's from Morocco, and she talked about how it was hard to find childcare and employment here. And so it really ties into what Wilson was talking about. And so, sorry, I get a little verklempt every time she talks about how they had to put their dreams on hold when they moved here. And so just now I'm really trying to get her involved in the workforce and see how we can impact her and her family and her community. So all of that came out of a call to action from the Leadership Northern Kentucky to reach out to their legislators. We had a QR code and encouraged them to fill that out to impact the budget that was put forth from the Senate, and how we needed money to have access to childcare and affordable childcare for families. With that, we do have a Senate budget that crossed over and is now on the governor's desk. We are thankful that is in a historical amount that was put into childcare. Unfortunately, it's still not enough. I will send out to Vicky what is in that budget so she can send it out to this group. The one concern that we do have is that with the American Rescue Plan dollars, we were at an 85% of SMI, which is state median income, for families to qualify for assistance through the Child Care Assistance Program. That did not go through as continuing, and it went back down to the eligibility of 160% above the poverty rate. So that could impact a lot of families that were in the workforce that had affordable childcare that will not have that benefit moving forward. So still concerned about that, but excited that they invested. They're still having conversations. We're wondering if, because the federal government is impacting and influencing more in their budget, and so wondering if they're hoping some of that dollars can go towards the child care block grant dollar that can be used for the child care assistance program. So more to come on that. We don't foresee the governor vetoing that budget, but you never know what will happen. And we also have 2 bills that have passed to be on the governor's table. One is sponsored by Representative Heverin and co-sponsored by one of our local legislators, Representative Kleins, where it looks at language that encourages local government to work with the Cabinet of Economic Development to create certified childcare communities, and certified is in-home families. So that's something that's important to us. And then also is another bill that was presented by Senator Chambers Armstrong that would allow families that provide foster care and kinship receive child care assistance program, because they are currently not on that. So that would be another avenue to support families. So that's all I have on advocacy and what we've been doing to impact the workforce.
Thanks, Sandy. Pillar 2?
Yeah, so Brian is on spring break. So I'll just tell you, so I already made mention of the youth science. So we do have about 25 schools using them. Of those, 20 are junior or senior high schools, and those would be the ones that we would run the report. We have not run a regional report since 2021. So it'll be really good data for us to look at. When you get that report, it is a consolidation, so you can't identify individual schools for obviously for privacy reasons, but it will be a really good report for us. And so we're excited to be able to take that to the school districts and really try to get to those schools that have not used it or have not used it as robustly as is possible. I participated in a little training that Jenny Lamoth did with me with the youth science people. It is an incredibly robust system. It can probably tell you a whole lot more than we're using it for. So that's really sort of there. And of course, it's all about work-based learning experiences. That's really what Pillar 2 is about at this point. Whether those be really formalized things like co-ops and pre-apprenticeships, or whether they're just trips to see site visits and those kinds of things. That's what they're up to.
And if I might add something, and this is related to the work of Pillar 2, but not necessarily something that they're directly working on. The WIB, under the umbrella of GROW, really, have been working with Kenton County Public Schools to produce high-demand career videos for their students. So we've been working to identify a diverse number of occupations, narrowing down those that have that self-sufficient salary, as well as those that are anticipated to grow in the coming years. And we also had our eye on diversity of training type. So we didn't just want to talk about careers that require a 4-year degree, So Kenton County Schools is producing these videos as we speak. We've identified 6 occupations, those being software development and information security analyst. So we all know that the growing demand with IT, especially IT security. So there's going to be a 3-minute video made on that, and Brent Cooper is going to be featured in that, wearing his C Forward hat to kind of talk about all the opportunities there. Firefighter EMT, which I think first responders often get overlooked when we're talking about high demand occupations. Nothing's more critical for our community, and the pay rate could be pretty rewarding in those jobs. So Mayor Jessica Fetty is going to be featured on that video, talking about all of the opportunities within the city of Erlanger, but really representing the region and all of the different opportunities with those positions. Aircraft maintenance technician. We know, and thank you to Gina. Gina's getting all kind of shout outs today. She's like the rock star of this group.
It's been busy, Corey. It's been busy.
Go. Gina connected us with FEAM Aero, and also, of course, we have a presence, a career center at the CBG Airport. So Brad Dansbury is our staff person there with Brighton Center. So Etan Connor and Brad Dansbury are going to be featured in the video for aircraft maintenance technicians and talking about the demand and the salaries and everything. and the fact that they're really cool jobs. And I think very fitting for a lot of high schoolers who really are mechanically inclined. And the other two have to do with trades. So we're featuring electrician positions. We're having Edgewood Electric talk about their particular positions. Drew White from Edgewood Electric is going to be on the video. And then HVAC technicians. Very high demand, very high projected growth. Jason Blau with Blau Mechanical is going to be on that video. So I'm excited about, featuring these occupations. Oh, and I left out healthcare. How did I do that? St. Elizabeth. St. Elizabeth is going to be on the video as well, talking about opportunities to be registered nurses and medical assistants. So I think we've kind of got a good representation across the sectors and thinking about diversity and training type. And I expect more to come with this. I would want to expand into more occupations and certainly expand beyond Kenton County School District to offer these career exposure activities to more students.
Corey and Vicki, if I could ask a quick question, just the status of the portal that was developed by the task force, I believe within this pillar, that was connecting employers and students to co-ops, apprenticeships, et cetera. Can you give a quick update on where we are with that, how effective it is, et cetera?
Yeah, that's called My Career E3. And that is one of the goals for Pillar 2 as well. So as it turns out, the businesses are using it rather well. And the students are checking. The missing link is the schools, because if we're looking for the guidance counselors or career counselors to sort of put the events into the calendar, into the system. And it's a lot to ask them to do on top of their actual jobs. So we actually are talking about a way that we can go right from businesses to students, and a campaign just to let families know that they have access to this information. So that will actually be incorporated into that October 1st event as well, making this sort of connecting the events that are available to the assessment that happens on U Science, to the companies that are saying, yes, please come and check us out.
Great, thank you.
And to add one thing to that, Karen, the actual platform was tweaked. I believe it was in the fall, or at least toward the end of 2023, to allow access directly for parents and students. Prior to that, access can only be gained from the school district. So the platform, from a technical standpoint, will allow access. Now it's about, really making that available and making students and parents aware of the opportunity.
So it's
Vicki,
a promotional thing.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Karen.
Oh, it was me. I was going to say it's really promoting that to parents that this is a great opportunity for you. So that's part of sort of our communication plan for the future.
I think that's a great plan to have the parents, but I thought also the teachers, we were expanding this, right? From just the counselors to the teachers who wanted to be involved and felt like they could look for those opportunities to encourage students. Do we know anything about how teachers might be trying to promote it?
Yeah, I think the teachers are in the same boat. I think that there's a lack of awareness that we're coming up against for the most part. There's definitely work to be done.
Gotcha.
And appreciating that the counselors and teachers have their day jobs to do, let's say. Giving them some kind of, just even a simple, something they could hand to the students. Take this home to your parents, check this out, right? So, just even that functionality in that space, I think would be very valuable if they're not going to be the ones to actually engage the technology. Back to, Vicki's point, the education piece of it, but just, having that tool, being able to hand off again, a little, paper that says, bring this home to your parent, right?
Exactly.
In a perfect world, the youth science, which has been gangbusters, there's over 23,000 youth science assessments that have been completed. Ideally, the results of those youth science assessments would be given to parents And that tool could be used to make connections through My Career E3 to set those students up with appropriate work-based learning activities. I mean, that would be the logical bridge there. So that's, I think, can be used as an opportunity. We've got so much excitement and participation with U Science. Let's carry that over into My Career E3.
Vicki, will you share that with that pillar? Just, some of these ideas that were thrown out today, because yeah, I think, there's opportunity there.
I think so. I think, and they're on the same page with you guys in terms of what has to happen. So it's not that they're not aware. We really just have to be consistent in our messaging about how robust and how impressive these tools are, that to get them in the hands of families.
Yep. And make it easy. You got to make it easy.
For sure.
Corey, I love the idea for the videos, by the way. I think that's great, because it's hard to be it if you've never seen it, right? And so that's why U Science is really important, because it's about aptitude, not interests. And kids, particularly kids of poverty, don't have interest in things that they may have an aptitude for because they've never seen it. They've never experienced it. Kids from affluent homes have a great advantage in that way. So if you could tie the videos somehow to awareness and lead people to My Career E3, I think that's, making those connections and making it seamless, and to learn more, go here, do this, I think that could be helpful.
I agree. And one of the things I love about U Science is I think it gives students a sense of hope. I mean, to your point, like, high schools are required to do a career interest assessment. But because U Science has the aptitude component, it really tells students what they're good at. And they may not have otherwise even thought about what they're good at. I mean, maybe they've never been told that they've been good at much. So I think that's a huge thing for students, and we need to leverage that for sure. So that's a great.
Well, and likewise, sometimes students are interested in things that they have absolutely no aptitude for. I mean, it runs both ways, actually. So knowing what you have an aptitude for is good for all kids, but it's particularly good for kids from poverty, because that it helps point them towards things that may be real opportunities for them.
Very exciting stuff happening in that space. All right, Lauren.
Hi. So I am going to share a little bit on behalf of Pillar 3, which is Work Ready Adults. So Vicki had mentioned earlier that Pillar 3 is actually in a pretty fortunate spot in having met the metrics that have kind of been set forth, right? So increasing the number of career readiness credentials. And then specifically the other two are surrounding increasing the attainment rates for high school equivalency or diplomas for our work ready adult community or our working age community, and then also increasing the number of associate's degrees. Those last two metrics that I just mentioned, I want to be very transparent with this group, right? There's been a bit of I think kind of a shift in how we've measured that regionally. We've met those goals at this point. The way that our metrics are worded on paper, 85% having that high school equivalency, and then 25% or more having an associate's degree or higher. Our region meets that threshold. There are still some counties, especially in towards the southern part of our Northern Kentucky region, that are not quite at those levels. However, from kind of where we're at against the metric, we've technically met those metrics. The piece of transparency that I want to offer is that that is not necessarily because the pillar has put a tremendous amount of effort behind those. I think it's largely a change in how we're kind of looking at that breakdown, county versus the whole region. So I want to share a bit more about the Kentucky Essential Skills, that career readiness credential that we have been working a lot on. here in a moment, but to kind of give you an idea of where we're going, right? Knowing that we've met those metrics. So what does the pillar really focus its effort on? We've been having a lot of internal conversation about, do we want to continue to do some work around those metrics? But maybe looking specifically at how we do impact the counties or communities that aren't quite at those percentages that are outlined in the metrics. So there's been some ongoing discussion about what that looks like. But we're also taking the time to kind of do some education for ourselves and vision what this looks like as we head into the future, right? So one of the things we're up against is that for us to move, we'll use that associate's degree metric, for example, for us to make movement there, right? That assumes that this pillar has to undertake the efforts needed to recruit more people into those education pathways, to support them. You know, oftentimes this population, it needs a little bit more support in having the tools to stick with attaining that degree. And then ultimately having that final success of earning an associate's degree. That takes some time, right? The associate's degree itself takes 2 years to earn. So with our metrics going through 2025, the group is a little bit hesitant to do a super deep dive on how we are going to kind of impact a subgroup of that metric. Again, we've already met that as a region. So instead, we've really shifted our conversation to thinking about the future. I know, it's been mentioned already before that there may be a bit of a metric or kind of focus shift that comes in conjunction with the rebranding. Ours is a good example of that, right? We actually met yesterday, and we really were doing some kind of exploration of what is the landscape around kind of that attainment of an associate's degree. But what it led us to is that there's many statewide initiatives already that are much more aligned to looking at credential completion as a whole, right? So not just focusing on those 2 or 4 year degrees, but really looking at those shorter term post-secondary credentials or credentials that are offered at a college level that are not necessarily part of that 2 or 4 year degree kind of plan. So the 60 by 30 initiative is a good example of that, right? So how can we have 60% of our population having some form of a college credential or post-secondary credential by 2030? So that's kind of maybe a little bit more aligned to where this pillar would like to go. And I think that is really aligned to what we know about the needs of our work-ready adults, right? If we're talking about individuals who are already adults, right? They have responsibilities in the world. They likely have children or families and households to maintain. Sometimes taking the time to achieve that 2 or 4 year degree is a barrier in and of itself for families that need economic solutions now or yesterday, right? So those more specific shorter term credentials are really a key piece of how we can support work-ready adults in getting where they need to go further faster, right? And we have a number of programs in our region that are doing just that. This pillar has always been pretty aligned on the plan of leveraging what is already in existence and amplifying what is already in existence, and not trying to kind of reinvent the wheel, so to speak. How can we maximize the efforts of people who are already doing this work and doing it really well? So I say that to say that we are kind of a bit in a kind of a place of exploration with how do we move in the future, especially with that associate's degree metric, and kind of by proxy, it's the same situation with the high school completion metric as well. What do we do to advance that? We know it's still important, but how do we kind of go a layer deeper in figuring out how to maximize impact for the group that really needs that, right? Since we've technically already met those metrics as a region. That leads me though into the metric that we have worked really, really hard on in the past year, almost exclusively in the past year. That was the metric that really talks about increasing the number of individuals in our community in that work ready or in that working age group, that 18 to 64 group. How do we help increase the number of career readiness credentials? And so we've been really pushing that effort as a team, and happy to say that we're starting to see some results from that. We've been working on it for about a year. We've really focused on the Kentucky Essential Skills credential. That is the credential that we had the most internal bandwidth to work with, right? There are other career readiness credentials, but because Kentucky Adult Education can offer that credential, so can the Kentucky Career Center. Those are entities that are instrumental within the pillar. So we felt that we had the most leverage to exercise that Kentucky Essential Skills credential as the kind of the push, which is what we've been doing. And so I do have some info for you on kind of what the pillar has done in that space. You know, again, our big focus has been how do we amplify existing efforts, not reinvent the wheel. So we put a lot of work into just how do we increase the pipelines, not figure out a way to offer this ourselves, right? How do we amplify? So since the pillar really got involved in this effort, we have had 153 individuals successfully pass the KESC just from the Kentucky Career Center alone. I think Gina DeWard, who is my co-chair, will have additional data for us from the KYAE perspective. She's also spring breaking this week, so hopefully we'll have some additional numbers to supplement that. But I want to kind of paint the picture here, right? We're in that kind of concept of how are we amplifying and not just, you know, trying to run it ourselves. You know, the Kentucky Career Center they offer these workshops to the public monthly, right? So some organic KESCs certifications were already occurring, but did a little bit of number crunching. And it looks like prior to the pillar's effort, we were seeing about 8 or so successful KESC completions per month. With the pillars engagement and really that amplification effort, we've been able to increase that 62, well, actually almost 63%. So now we're seeing on average about 13 individuals a month attaining that KESC. So we're really, you know, pleased with that, right? That's a pretty significant increase in the number of individuals monthly who are receiving that certification. You all well know I've provided a few updates on we're really working to get this in front of employers and as well, and how do we help employers maybe leverage this a little bit as almost kind of a professional development or maybe an onboarding type of training for their existing workforce. We have gained some traction there, most notably with transitions. Drug rehabilitation, they've really really leaned into the KESC. They've started sending their supervisors so that there is the ability to create kind of a common dialogue when they are coaching their staff. And then it is now baked into their onboarding process for all new employees. So that has been something that's been particularly successful as an example of how employers are kind of leveraging this. Other folks we've worked with to really amplify Insweiler Building Institute, Kentucky Career Center also has a team of senior trainees who are part of a community senior employment program that the Northern Kentucky Community Action Commission operates currently. So they're now engaged in that. Just, you know, a few examples of some of the movement that the pillar has specifically been able to create to amplify those efforts. I think
Congratulations, Lauren. I mean, that you guys have really hit some metrics and then moving on to the next one. So
yeah,
very good
what's
stuff.
next for
I think
us?
it'd be great to have those groups like the transitions and the those companies, you know, put together some kind of case study about, again, how they used it. I love the idea of the common language. I love the idea of using that for their supervisors and so forth. So I think it'd be pretty interesting and powerful to get some kind of case studies around those where, again, we can put that in front of other employers and say, this is a way you can use it. Because I don't know that everybody understands how they can necessarily use that, because I find credentials really depend on the workforce marketplace. If employers are in pain and they need people, they don't care about credentials. But if they're in a position to be selective, it does become an important piece of their decision making and their hiring process. So I think it's an interesting dynamic. But beyond that, what you're suggesting is that credential could actually function in another capacity within their organization. I think those are the types of things that maybe employers aren't thinking of when they think of the word credential, right?
Yeah, exactly, Michelle. And that's precisely what we hope to do with this, right? Really having employers come to the table is a bit new, right? So understandably, employers need to understand the ROI. And to have that ROI, we need to have a few of the kind of early adopters lean into helping us really be able to present that case, right? So I totally agree. I think once transitions has a few more rounds, we have a little bit longer of a measure. Hopefully they'll be able to help us kind of establish, has there been a move in either, retention or, a decrease in kind of workplace professionalism issues? Like, what is the ROI as it relates to, as it relates
How
to
it impacts the workplace.
skills?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Lauren, that was a great presentation. And from an employer perspective, and I'm not in our HR group, but what would you recommend? Is there a good one pager that we could give to our HR teams around, what this entails? And I'm thinking about the professional development aspect of it. Thinking about like our call center reps and just
Absolutely.
some other maybe entry level positions.
There is a one pager. I will send that to Vicky so that she can distribute to this group. And just at a very high level, this is not a fit for all, like this is not a magic wand, right? And I try to be very clear about that when I'm talking to employers up front, right? It creates a space for common language, right? But these are the Kentucky Essential Skills certificate is really kind of a soft skill credential, right? So it's helping folks build their skills in some of those key areas that are just kind of expected in our workplaces, right? But it is not going to be the thing that magically transforms your workplace. It does create common language. So sending your supervisors through is a fantastic idea so that they have, hey, we talked about this. This is an example of this. Let's think through how we do this differently next time. So what the one pager maybe does not articulate and I think it's probably a good reminder to me that I think we can maybe do a bit better job on the one pager. The one thing that I think is really important to call out is that this certification is going to be really impactful for certain sectors, right? Maybe where you see a lot of turnover, especially in service industries. Customer service is a great example. Just want to kind of put that to the group that this is not a credential that is probably going to be super impactful for your higher level workforce, but really targeting certain entry level roles that are kind of primed for that interpersonal or professionalism breakdown.
So another quick question on that. So on the Ohio side of the river, is there something similar? A lot of companies cross the river and have operations on both sides of the river. So I assume, obviously this one doesn't matter if our call center reps are in Ohio or Kentucky, but is there anything similar on the Ohio side that you're aware of?
Not that I'm super aware of. Some states have adopted kind of this model for a similar credential. And I think that is kind of one of the pain points overall for this credential is that it is a state recognized credential in Kentucky, but the concept of it is very transferable, right? So it is not like something that is going to be completely different in a different state.
Well, but the actual training is going to be
I mean, it's conveying
I was just curious if there's
okay. I think that's something that would.
Can you send the one pager or put it in the chat?
I can do my, let me see here. Actually, just Zoom let us put in the chat. Yeah.
You can put it in the notes, but you could send it to me and I'll send it out. I've got several other things to go out.
I will for sure do that. And my notes.
Hey, Rhonda, just
unfortunately not
fun
loading.
fact, the genesis of the Kentucky Essential Skills, that model was created here in Northern Kentucky. You do recall that, right?
I do.
We did this.
Recall that. It's
we
been
did this
around for a little bit.
In 2001, we did this with the ethics certificate, and that really was the genesis for this Kentucky Essential Skills model.
Well, and I always forget about it. That's the bad thing. As an employer, we should be using it, and we've got to keep figuring out how to remind other employers that this is a great tool. So,
I mean, even if you're just looking at kind of that cultural shift that you're trying to create within your organization, I mean, that's a springboard into that alone.
Yeah, not a magic wand, but You know, I've worked in the adult education space for almost my entire nonprofit career, and I have seen hundreds of examples where adults can and do learn new skills every day, right? So a lot of those mindset shifts that employers may have around, you know, can folks who maybe haven't always demonstrated the best communication or professionalism skills, can those be changed? They can, but it does create, it's not, that's why I say that this is not a one and done thing, right? It creates, it has to be embedded in the culture, right? Your supervisor is your most important person in your work life. And if your supervisor has that language and that common, like, here is the tone we are setting. This is what our organization is leaning into. And we now have a common language because we have the certification as a foundation and underpinning. That is what then creates the conditions for more impactful coaching and professional development on an ongoing basis. Yeah. I'm so sorry. My notes, when I launched the notes section here, it's not pulling up any option for me to share it with you, but I will certainly go ahead and just send that to Vicky for distribution. I'll go ahead and do that right now.
All right. Well, we are at time, guys, but if we could, Corey and Vicky, do a real quick rundown on 4 and 5. Or do we want to do,
Yep.
or do we have
So-
some partner updates that
Yeah.
that need to be covered?
Well, for 4, we're looking at a thing called Make My Move, which is a relocation platform where you try to get remote workers who could live anywhere to come to your region. So we're doing a very deep dive into whether or not that is something that would make some sense for us, because as was already said, we don't have enough workers. No matter what we do, we don't have enough workers for the jobs that are here now and coming on. So Corey, I just took your thunder on that. And then I'll just say real quickly, I was going to show you some of the slides from the talent symposium. But I'm going to send you the slide deck. It was from Dustin
At Lightcast.
Yeah,
and I'll encourage you guys to flip through that. It is a lot of really, really good data, and the local stuff is at the end.
It is, and the local stuff is really hard to read, even in when you get his actual slides, but it comes right from the Department of Labor. But it's really, really it's 79 slides, but it's really worth taking a look at. So you're off the hook from me going through it with you, but I really don't want you to be off the hook from looking at the data, because it's really worth it.
And Vicky, maybe we can add it to our next agenda and click through that. And maybe by then folks have had a chance to look at it. We can have some good conversation around it.
Michelle, if I could ask for the next agenda, I think it would be really good for this steering committee to understand how things are getting delivered to employers, especially when it's talent related, very specific opportunities, like the immigration piece. We saw all those numbers and a number of adults who are ready to work but can't find jobs. Just curious from a steering committee standpoint, how is that being driven from this group?
The
what
messaging, you mean, and the outreach?
Not so much messaging. How are the employees being contacted with tangible opportunities for employment? Because on one hand, we're hearing, oh, HVAC is in great need. And on the other hand, you have people who might be trained in that, and there's not the connection. So I'd be really interested in logistically, how are we making direct contact to the employer universe with these opportunities, with this talent opportunity? Outside of the policy and the training we're talking about, how are we
Like that
really
real world
driving,
connection?
how are we really driving people in roles? That's what employers want. How are we seeing the talent land there? How are we making that happen?
You bring up a good point that the employer isn't always as concerned about what we're doing to get them there. It's how are we making that connection?
Right now, today, they have a need. How are we making that connection? So that's a topic for another time, but I think it would be really helpful to me, but I think also to this group to understand that.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, guys, before we adjourned? I think this was a great meeting. Thanks again, Wilson, for the presentation. We'll look forward to receiving that. Vicky, you've got your to-do list, and we're super grateful to have you. I feel like you're helping us to really be very effective on these calls, and certainly making me look like I know what I'm doing. So I'm grateful for you. Everybody, you have a great rest of the day, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.